On this vote, the yeas are 232, the nays are 196. The resolution is adopted without objection. The motion to reconsider is laid upon the table.
With the bang of that gavel, the impeachment of President Trump has moved into a new phase. All but 2 House Democrats voting to formally approve the impeachment inquiry, setting the stage and the rules for open hearings.
This is a solemn day in the history of our country when the president's misconduct has compelled us to continue to move forward with an impeachment inquiry. The resolution today sets out the procedures going forward with that impeachment process. We take no joy in having to move down this road and proceed with the impeachment inquiry, but neither do we shrink from it.
President Trump slammed the vote, claiming again he did nothing wrong on the phone call with Ukraine's president that sparked the inquiry.
When you know the line is crowded with people listening, intelligence agencies, military people, they're all listening. Would I say something inappropriate? I'm supposed to be they even say a very smart person, right? I don't think I'd be doing that.
We just got this statement from the White House. I'm going to read it to you since it is an official statement. The president has done nothing wrong, it says, and the Democrats know it. Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats' unhinged obsession with this illegitimate impeachment proceeding does not hurt President Trump. It hurts the American people. Instead of focusing on pressing issues that impact real families like reducing gun violence, passing the USMCA, improving health care, lowering prescription drug costs, securing our southern border, and modernizing our aging infrastructure, the Democrats are choosing every day to waste time on a sham impeachment, a blatantly partisan attempt to destroy the president. And essentially concludes by saying the Democrats want to render a verdict without giving the administration a chance to mount a defense. That is unfair, unconstitutional, and fundamentally un-American.
I'm Barry Gordon.
And I'm Andre Coleman.
This is NewsRap, live at 5.
Hit it.
So I guess we know what we're going to be talking about for the next 3 shows.
Yeah, and maybe the rest, and even after that, who knows how much going forward.
I know. You know, it's interesting. Someone was raising the fact that the whole 2020 Democratic race could change because 6 senators are going to be sitting in an impeachment trial.
Which 6?
Well, obviously, it's Warren, it's Sanders, it's Booker, it's Harris, it's Klobuchar and Bennett.
Bennett and Klobuchar kind of fit right out anyway.
Kind of, yeah, right.
Corey could have a place after the primary races and the nominee is chosen, maybe as Warren's VP.
Yeah.
That was your idea, not mine, so let me give you credit for that.
Okay.
Harris isn't doing great or good at all right now.
Yeah.
And has cut back staff and could be the next one to leave, which I really hope is not the case.
But if you look at the top 4, which is Warren, Sanders, Buttigieg, and Biden, then you've got to say that it could be to the advantage of Buttigieg and Biden.
Yeah, but
to be parked in
but you
Iowa,
said,
to be parked in New Hampshire.
You should have said Warren, Biden, Sanders, and Buttigieg. You moved Biden last, and he's probably running second still. That's not lost on me.
Nationally, I think maybe, not in Iowa.
Yeah, well, this is true also.
In Iowa, he's running 4th.
Right now.
So I was giving the Iowa numbers.
Right now.
Because I think Iowa is really where we all have to be looking right now. Because the fact is, it happens very fast. Once you get past, once you hit Iowa.
Right. Then you're not looking at nationwide polls.
Then you're looking at New Hampshire. And as Steve Kornacki on MSNBC.
Now he's quoting people.
Has very wisely said, in modern history, no one has lost New Hampshire and Iowa and gone on to be the nominee.
Okay.
So that's really what we're kind of looking at. And Biden right now is in bad shape
I'm going to say
in
this.
both of those
I'm going to say
states.
this. looking at who the president is right now and what's going on right now, throw out all lines that say in modern history something hasn't happened.
I tend to agree with that.
Because we are at a point where we have a mayor with no congressional experience,
Right.
or gubernatorial experience,
Right.
who is in the top 4 for Iowa.
We do.
So you can kind of throw out what's supposed
Well,
to
he's
happen
in the top 4 in the country.
in the country.
Yeah.
But as you pointed out, we are at a point now, I think November 1st and going forward, where they do count, but it is better and more prudent now to look at state polls instead of nationwide polls.
Right.
Because now it's going to be about who can do what where. And it looks like we already got a comment.
We already do have a question. What does yesterday's vote in Congress mean? I think it means exactly what it said, which is that there is now a procedure in place. That's really all it was. It was not for articles of impeachment. It was to create a procedure.
A way forward.
For going forward. And that way forward is going to be very public. And that...
A couple of things that it also means. First off, what it doesn't mean. It does not matter that no Republican voted for these rules at this point.
Oh, I totally agree with that.
Coming along down party lines is what I expected.
Right.
Here's what it does mean. Is that the line that this was all done in a secret star chamber type system...
That has to go away.
Goes away.
Yeah.
And when the transcripts are released
Not gone away yet,
Not yet.
by the way, because now they're saying, well, it started that way, so no matter how open it is now, it doesn't matter.
But next week, when the transcripts are released, the world will learn that a lot of Republicans asked a lot of questions in these secret meetings that they supposedly weren't allowed to ask questions at.
But what I want to see, what I really, really, really want to see is Donald Trump read the transcript to the American people.
Oh, his fireside chat?
I really want to see that. Because that could be the biggest backfire in American history.
Which means he's probably going to do it.
And he's probably going to do it. And he actually, I think, has totally convinced himself that there's absolutely nothing wrong with what he did.
Well, not only that, but here's what's even worse.
And I think most of the Republican Party has convinced themselves of it, too.
I don't agree, but I'm going to come back to that.
Okay.
But here's what's even worse. Donald Trump still proceeds along this idea that if people will listen to me, I can talk them out of what they have heard, what they have seen, and what the truth is.
Right.
And we are just not there anymore. Now, even the people who I think support him, they've just decided not to listen. Mm-hmm. But I'm talking about the people on the fence and the people who are listening. We are not at a point where he can get on TV or make a comment and the world will go, it's a setup, it's a frame-up. Or what is this, or I'm not sure. We are just not there anymore.
Yeah.
And him going on TV or radio or however he's going to do a fireside chat like it's Masterpiece Theater, maybe in an ascot or something.
Yeah, right. I know, right.
You know what? That is the dumbest idea. And if I was McConnell, I would tell him, if you do that, you will lose my support completely. Because and McConnell's already told him, stop going towards insulting Republicans because these are your jurists.
Exactly.
But this is not a guy who listens.
No, he doesn't listen. And I think the other big issue right now, and it's interesting, this is going to sound really weird, but, 82% of Republicans are opposed to impeachment. And 82% of Democrats are in favor of it. What some of the media has been pointing out is that Trump's support has dropped by 8 points.
Yeah.
It was 90% of Republicans opposed to impeachment. So, you lose 8, maybe, 5 to 8 a week, you start to run into some problems. And there's no question that the track is going in the wrong direction.
Consider this. Mm-hmm. When you say 8 to 5 a week, we thought it would take probably, I think on a previous show, we said it would take till the end of the year for Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats to educate the people and move them towards impeachment.
Right.
They did it in 10 days.
Yeah.
he could lose full support, or he could lose 20% of his support. I mean, the Dems went from about 40, 42 to 52 in 10 days.
And now 82.
And now 82. So if he lost 10 points,
Yeah.
he would be at 72%.
But you and I always knew that the Dems were going to go to 82 as
Easily.
soon as Nancy led the way.
Easily.
They were just waiting
They
for
were waiting
her.
for leadership.
That's right. And she had to do
The
that.
question now becomes, and what to look for is, the Republicans have at some point convened and spoken, and we will never know what that conversation was. But they have a number. I'm sure they have a number where they're going, if it goes below this, we're going to have to convince him to get out of here, or we're going to have to make some decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have to see what that number is.
That's right.
And
And we don't know. But I want to take the conversation a little more dark
Okay.
and serious, if I can.
Dark and serious.
Dark and serious.
As opposed to dark and light.
Because we're going to be talking about this, and we're going to be talking about the political ramifications, and we're going to be talking about Republicans and Democrats and all of that. So before we lose sight, I want to go back to James's question,
Okay.
which is, what does yesterday's vote in Congress mean? It means that the Constitution of the United States still has value. That's what it means. And what it means is that we cannot lose sight of the fact of what a momentous time in American history this is.
I agree. I agree.
We cannot lose sight of that. It's not politics as usual. It's not just another moment in political history. It is momentous. It is as momentous, at least, and I would say even more, than 1973, 1974 and Watergate, because I believe here you have a greater threat, a more direct
That I
threat
agree with.
to what the Constitution stands for, to what the founders
Right.
themselves put this whole thing together for. And when they added this concept of impeachment, they added it for exactly this
Right.
reason.
Now, 73 may carry a little more weight because of the aftermath, which was a lot of experts and historians say the point when the nation lost faith in its government and forever began to question its government.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas before, the majority, not all, of the nation was just very patriotic. And if the government said, hey, this country is wrong and did this, people grabbed the flag and waved it and rah-rah.
Right.
After Nixon, people began to go, well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You know, we're not perfect here.
And what shocks me kind of, Dre, is the Republican attitude right now. Because the Republicans have always been institutionalists. They have always been those people that have said, let's protect the institutions. You know, people like George Will, who have always talked about that. And what shocks me, and there's only one question that they should be asked over and over and over again until they get sick of hearing it. And they have to be made to answer it at some point.
Which is?
And that question is, would you feel that if a Democratic president did these things, it would not be cause for impeachment?
Let me ask you this.
That's the only question they've got to answer.
Let me ask
and
you
if they
this.
say, no, it's not cause for impeachment, that's even worse.
Of course.
Because the fact that they cannot see that this is such a clear attack against the Constitution of the United States is beyond me.
And I mean, we can even get into the criminality of it in a minute, but let me ask you this. Let me give you an illustration of where they were. Remember when you were a kid and you got in trouble?
I never got in trouble.
Yeah, okay. So remember when you were a kid and you got in trouble?
Yeah.
And,
But I really never got in trouble.
Okay,
But
you were a
go
good
ahead.
kid, but you got in trouble.
Oh, I was ridiculous.
All right,
Yeah.
so-
I got in trouble later, but go ahead.
Well, remember when you got in trouble?
Yes.
All right. And you remember when you were asked if you did it and you said no?
Yeah, I had a couple of those.
And you remember when your parents absolutely knew it was you, and you still hung on to no, even though you were busted.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's where the Republican Party is right now. The Republican Party right
You're
now
right,
is
yeah.
at a point where one of the reasons where they don't say, hey, he's guilty of this and we need to go down this path, is because then they have to go back to, well, we co-signed on this guy. We've all rah-rahed this guy for so long. So now, this is the mistake they're making, and it is a big-ass mistake. They believe...
But there's a way around that.
There is.
There's an easy
let me
answer
finish.
to that.
Of
yeah.
course there is. If you're not a sycophant and you're not an idiot.
Right.
But this is a mistake they're making. They believe that Trumpism is going to outlast Trump. And it's not.
No.
It's not. It's going to be gone in one voting cycle.
Yeah. I think that we're headed for the kind of change. I'm going to go out on a limb. I think we're headed for the kind of change that happened in the 1930s. I think that we are
Socialists?
I don't think we were socialist in 1930.
No, but I'm asking if that's where you think we're going.
I don't think we're moving all the way to socialism.
But we're leaning.
I think we're moving toward progressivism in a very big way. And I think that if you look at all of the polls on all of the fundamental issues, and we can get into this more when we get to Facebook and talk about the election. But I really think that the kind of middle of the road, the incremental, no, we can't, maybe we can do, and I think there's a mood right now. And I think part of that mood put Donald Trump in office, by the way.
Of course.
Unknowingly. You know, there were people that put him in knowingly who were racist and
I'm gonna say this
homophobic
before
and
we go
everything
local.
else. But yeah.
You are 100% correct, but we're going to get there even faster probably than any of us think. And the nation never moves forward without first being divided.
That's right.
So all of this, when Pelosi was going, I don't want to
That's
divide,
right.
that was the error. Because the nation does not grow and go forward without division first. And we can go into that further.
I think that's a great point, and that sounds like a thesis. We got to go into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. Okay, you got the wonk in me now. All right, so...
Now he's awake. He saw me set up, saw me smile. Look at him. Energy went up.
Let's take a look at the local brief.
Let's do it.
This is your local news brief for Friday, November 1st, 2019. Fuller Theological Seminary will remain in Pasadena after announcing a relocation in May of 2019 to Pomona. According to a Pasadena Star News article, President Mark Laberton cited dramatically escalating construction costs and differences with the city of Pasadena for the cease in relocation. The move to Pomona was originally attributed to the city's rank in colleges, diverse population, and the significantly lower cost of living. Fuller already purchased property and is now looking at options on what to do with it. Laberton also said Fuller will continue to strategize plans to reduce debt, modernize the current campus, and increase scholarships. Pasadena City Council will vote on whether to pass an eviction moratorium on no-fault evictions until the Tenant Protection Act goes into effect in January. The moratorium is being considered to address the concerns of citizens that believe landlords are evicting tenants and raising rents before the act takes effect. The Pasadena Tenants Union and Councilmember Gene Masuda have both requested that the potential moratorium reverses recent evictions. City Manager Steve Mermel presented a change to Pasadena's cannabis ordinance. The change would allow up to 3 retailers within each district. It would also allow for a smaller minimum distance of 450 feet between dispensaries. Currently, the ordinance limits 1 retailer per district and a 1,000 feet minimum between them. The changes would not alter the maximum of 6 retailers in the city, nor would it alter the required distance from schools, neighborhoods, and churches. Mermel is quoted in a Pasadena Weekly article as saying, "This is a fair and equitable solution to the lack of suitable space under present regulations, while preserving all of the protections for neighborhoods and sensitive uses. The proposal will be considered by the Planning Commission, and their findings will be pushed to City Council for a decision."
All right.
A lot to talk about.
All 3 of them huge stories.
But Fuller's not leaving. That's
Fuller's not leaving.
the bottom line,
No.
but they were looking to leave.
Fuller and the rent control story are actually the same issues.
Oh, talk to me.
Fuller has almost 200 affordable housing units. And years ago, 2003, 2004, Fuller signed an inclusionary housing agreement with the city.
Was that for faculty and staff, or?
Both. Under the agreement that this would always be affordable housing.
Mm-hmm.
So when it came time to sell it, they cannot mark it up to market value. And whoever buys it next stays in the agreement, and they can't mark it up when they're ready to get away from it. So what they thought they could get for the land, they can't get for the land, combined with the construction costs in Pomona have gone up. And construction costs go up literally about every 6 months.
Sure.
So from the time of, hey, we're moving and here's some money for this land, to let's build, to now, that cost has gone up. And now we're getting less money for the property. Mm-hmm. We're in danger of taking a loss or a profit goes down, which is why they're staying. Simple as that.
Not happily.
Probably not. Although they say they are, but I would imagine they're not. They wanted to move for a reason. I mean, according to the first press release, they were having problems with debt and number crunching. You know, they were crunching the numbers. So now they got to figure out how to make this work. They're going to be here.
Well, that's good news for Pasadena.
Yeah, I mean,
That's very good news
hey,
for Pasadena.
City Hall is excited that they're staying.
Yeah.
So now they got to find the way forward, and a meeting is scheduled. A meeting has been planned to do that, but not scheduled yet.
Right. So the eviction moratorium. Now, obviously, there's been a lot of pressure on the city council. We've got the state law coming down.
That's right.
Right? And what was happening, my understanding is that there were different places in Los Angeles, for example, where they started to see landlords try to anticipate this and just jacking up the rents. And Los Angeles said no. Now, what have we said?
We will vote next Monday, and we will say no.
Okay.
And then they will.
We will say no to landlords jacking. In other words, we will have
a
an
moratorium.
eviction moratorium.
Now, this is where this gets amazing.
Okay.
We will pass it on Monday. City Council will pass it on Monday.
Right.
And they will do the first reading of the ordinance. However, City Charter says they can't do two ordinances in the day that the moratorium is passed. So they are going to have a special meeting on Tuesday and do the second reading of the ordinance, and then we will have our moratorium.
Okay. But we will have a moratorium.
We will have a moratorium. Look, when it came up, there were about 100 speakers in the room. 2 people spoke, and the mayor said, we're going to do this next week. And a majority of the council said, I'm going to support it at last Monday's meeting. Now, what's fascinating about this to me is, what would we call this? Rent control.
Exactly.
Which they never wanted to discuss.
Exactly.
And they never wanted to do.
Peter Dreyer must be in heaven
yes,
right now.
and they're about to do it. They're about to do it. Now, it's temporary.
Right.
But come
the bill is rent control.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
But I think that these same activists are going to probably come back in December and go, there's no need for you to take it off the books. And that you should keep it on the books just in case the state does something, we're protected. So,
well, does it make us less competitive than other areas given the state law? In other words, does it do something that is more restrictive than the state law?
I haven't read it, but from what I understand, it's not more restrictive.
Okay. So, yeah, then there is no reason to keep it off.
There would be no reason to keep it off. It would just be an extra layer of protection so that if the state law ever was amended.
Like if the Republicans ever took
Exactly.
control again.
Exactly. Pasadena
is going to be when
exactly
pigs fly.
Yeah, and in California, Pasadenans would be protected.
Yeah.
So I don't know if the city council will keep it. It would take another vote because right now this will have a expiration date of January 1. Mm-hmm. When the other one I think kicks in somewhere in there, and it could now where ours is a little extra. Gene Masuda has requested that it erase some evictions.
Really?
Some no-cause evictions.
Okay.
That it erase some of them, that it makes some of those go away. So we'll see if that's in there and what happens from there.
Okay. So the last one, of course, that they showed is weed.
Yeah.
So what I'm getting from this, tell me if I'm wrong, what I'm getting from this is now you can have it's still the same amount per district?
No.
No, it's the same amount for the entire city.
Yes, it's still up to 6.
Up to 6.
But now we're going to allow 3 per council district. Now, if there are 7 council districts,
Yeah.
that would be saying technically we could have 21.
Yeah.
That's not what it's saying. It's because of the 2 that wanted to come in, the 3 that wanted to come into District 3. You have 2 lawsuits there. Mm-hmm. How do you make the lawsuits go away? You let them in.
Right.
So they're changing it. I mean, Romel's talking about fairness and all that.
So they can sort of be clustered now.
Yeah, because they're even going to change the distance requirements
Right.
from each other.
Right.
So there's going to be a lot of weed in District 3, apparently.
So that's where I have to go. No.
Yeah. Now you know where to hang out. You and your friends, after you go to Parsons Knolls, you can go pick up your weed in District 3.
In District 3. Okay. I don't know what to say to that. Let me ask you a quick question.
Sure, man.
Maybe we don't have enough time for it. Maybe we'll have to spill over into next week or something.
Well,
'Cause
ask
I
me
want
now.
to talk about the election.
All right.
But PG&E. I know that we're not PG&E.
Now we have our own utility.
But right, I know that. But what is this whole thing about causing the fires? Because I keep hearing that PG&E and the state of California are causing these fires.
Let's jump into that for a quick second when we come back on Facebook.
Why don't we
and
do
then we'll
that?
go into the election.
All right. You're going to get an education here, folks, whether you want it or not.
Hey, you're
So,
getting it, man, and it's good stuff, isn't it?
That's it.
All right.
So stay with us. We'll talk a little bit about PG&E, and we'll talk a lot about the election. I'm Barry Gordon, and we're gone already.
Yep. And
I'm
I'm
Barry
Andre
Gordon,
Coleman. I'm
and
not
we're
being
back.
impeached.
All right.
All right, let's do it.
The day is young. Anyway,
What are you, Republican
this
now?
is NewsRap, live at 5.